Let's try and write the ionic equation for this question, where calcium carbonate is reacting with nitric acid to produce calcium nitrate, water, and carbon dioxide. So the equation is already with you. It's given. You need to, the first step again is to find the states. Now, this over here is calcium carbonate, so you have to refer to the solubility table and figure out whether calcium carbonate is soluble or insoluble. So I have opened this solubility table, and calcium carbonate, it's written over here that all carbonates, compounds containing CO3 2 minus, are insoluble except group 1. So calcium is in group 2. So the first statement applies that all carbonate compounds are insoluble. So according to this, they're insoluble. So the state of calcium carbonate, it's a solid. It's not going to dissolve. Nitric acid is an acid, and all acids are soluble. They are going to dissociate into aqueous ions. Then you have nitrate. This is calcium nitrate. Calcium nitrate, if you refer to the solubility table, so here's the solubility table, then you would read the second statement, which is that all group 1 NH4 plus 1 and NO3 minus 1 compounds are soluble. So anything that contains NO3 minus 1 is going to be a soluble compound. So calcium nitrate over here is going to be aqueous. It's going to be in aqueous state, and it's going to dissociate into its aqueous ions. Then you have H2O, which is liquid, and then you have CO2, which is a gas. Remember that only acids, bases, and salts which are aqueous are going to dissociate into ions. So I'm going to try and rewrite this equation now in dissociated form. Calcium carbonate is going to remain as it is. It's a solid. It's not going to dissolve. So the ions are going to stick together. They're not going to dissociate. Nitric acid, on the other hand, is going to dissociate into its ions. And there are two ions, as you need to identify the ions. One is H plus 1 and the other one is NO3 minus 1. So it's going to dissociate into two ions. One is H plus 1 and the other one is going to be NO3 minus 1 ion. Since there are two molecules, so there would be two H plus 1 and two NO3 minus 1 ions in aqueous state, roaming around in water. And then moving to the products, calcium nitrate is also aqueous, which means it's going to dissociate into its ions. And the two ions, one is calcium 2 plus and the other one is NO3 minus 1. So it's going to produce two ions, Ca2 plus and NO3 minus 1 ions. Instead of the small 2, you're going to write this big 2 over here, this coefficient over here. The reason being that previously all these three ions were joined together in a compound, but now when they dissociate, they scatter into ions and the two nitrate ions are no longer together. So you write this big 2 over here. Then you have water. These would be in aqueous state. Water is a liquid. It hardly dissociates. So we're going to write H2O as it is in liquid state. And then you have CO2, which is going to be in gaseous state. So that's also not going to dissociate. So only these compounds dissociate into ions. And the last step is to identify spectator ions, those ions that are not doing anything in this reaction. If you look at calcium carbonate, it changed into calcium ions and carbon dioxide was produced. So that means all these substances, they actually took part in the reaction. Similarly, H plus 1 took part in the reaction because over there is no H plus 1. It changed into H2O, so it took part in the reaction. The only ion that did not do anything, if you look at nitrate ions, in your reactants you have nitrate ions in aqueous state. In your product as well, you have nitrate ions in aqueous state, which means that nitrate ions did nothing in the whole reaction. They are spectator ions. They were just watching the reaction happen. So they did not undergo any change. So if you remove these nitrate ions, the remaining equation is going to be your net ionic equation. So if I write that down, so I'm going to rewrite the whole equation without nitrate ions. So it's going to be calcium carbonate solid, followed by 2H plus 1 aqueous. And my products are going to be Ca2 plus aqueous plus H2O liquid. And I have CO2 in gaseous state.